Okay, everybody. Hello and welcome to Breaking Down Security. Mr. Betcher, say hello.
Hello.
Okay,
Hi.
good.
What's
All right, excellent. Um, yeah, so we are here. Miss Berlin is not. Hopefully, she'll be able to join us again soon. Um, so, for those of you who are listening to us on the audio podcast, greetings and welcome. Those of you watching us on Twitch stream, greetings and welcome. So, um, let me see. Let me make sure. Okay, so yeah, Beta Wolf is the last person who followed us, but I'd like to thank all of our Twitch supporters who use Amazon Prime subscriptions. It is September, so I don't know what that means in Twitch. I think it means if you pay, some X amount of dollars to subscribe to somebody at a specific level, it's a discount on something. So if you do find value in what we're doing here, please feel free to subscribe to us on Amazon Prime with Amazon Prime account, or support us however you see fit. So, Mr. Betcher, how are you doing today?
doing great. You
Awesome.
know, it's the end of the weekend, which is sad. But
Yeah.
but yeah, um, glad I have a job and a pretty good one, running a sock. So yeah, it's things are going well.
Nice. Okay. Um, yeah, you and I were talking a little bit before the show here, talking about what life might be like if we didn't do security. And I think I've talked about this. Y2T is also on with us, the infamous on our Slack Discord, and we were talking about what people think about when they think about what does life look like if your first inkling is not what can go wrong, what a security take would be. Um, I don't know because I've never worked in that world, but I have to ask myself what they're thinking when they think, hey, let's build this thing and it does X, Y, and Z. And my first priorities are to the security, safety, and privacy, where they see it as usability, availability, cool new, buzzword and tool and whatever.
Yeah.
And I find myself at odds with, what would that look like, or what would my job be if I decided to say, I just don't want to be a security TPM anymore? What would my job be? And, you know, um, Mr. Betcher, what would your job be if you weren't a SOC person or wanted to do security? I'm not saying like what would your fallback position have been if you didn't want to be a security person, but let's say you decided tomorrow I'm just going to say fucking leave. What do you want to do? What would you
I'll
do that
probably
isn't
be a
security?
rancher. Probably be a
Rancher.
rancher.
Okay.
Yeah, something self-employed, that sort of thing. Something old-fashioned.
Okay.
Something, yeah, just get back to the 1800s or whatever, that
You've been
sort of
watching
thing.
Yellowstone, haven't you? You've been watching Yellowstone
Actually,
1880.
no. I'm
No.
I'm probably gonna wait till it's done and then binge. But yeah, the well, something like that. See if I can survive off the grid type living, things like that. Yeah,
I
that's what I do.
I'm watching. I'm imagining you with a cowboy hat on, atop a horse with chaps,
Overalls.
and no, not overalls. I like chaps. I'm like a cowboy betcher. Oh,
Yeah.
what the hell happened with the? Okay, I don't know what happened there, but our overlay just went to complete shite. So I have to figure out why that died like that. You're all squeezed. Okay, why can I not?
It's either that or become like a consultant, maybe a SWAT team. If somebody
Right.
um, gets hacked, they don't have a security team, they can hire us to
Okay.
come in and um, build that security program for them.
Okay. All right. YTT is very kind and said we had a little bit of a dropout there, but I think it's fine. So, yeah, Mr. Betcher, I'm imagining you on a horse, like riding, with your chaps and spurs, and you're walking hamburgers around all over the place, and ribeyes, and you know,
Yeah.
pushing them. That sounds cool. I've thought quite a bit about this in the last 4 or 5 weeks, because one, I was very unhappy at my job. Things have actually gotten a little better in the past few weeks with regards to allowing people to make decisions and having a little bit of autonomy. And I find myself not wanting to leave the education racket. Being I actually like developing content on Twitch. I don't know if I'm good at it, but I would imagine the majority of people on Twitch don't actually make a profit on that. But I would love to continue doing some education. Dare I even say it, community management, or somebody who is like the community manager for a product or something like that. The unfortunate thing is, I find that they pay dick, and I would have to take roughly, anywhere between a quarter to a half pay cut for like a community manager or a community type position, which kind of sucks. So I'd have to probably work two jobs to make what I'm making right now. But yeah, I find myself wanting to either continue doing like teaching and educating, or doing community management. Yeah, that's what I just find myself doing. So, we have some viewers, people on there. YTT, what would you be doing if you weren't doing your job? And I'll let you, uh,
Think about it.
yeah, think about that, and our other listeners as well. And we're going to continue on talking about this. So, for those of you who are not on our Twitch stream, some of this might be a bit of a review for you, but Mr. Betcher, it's new for him. I'm already not doing my job. So that's what YTT says. Okay. That's good. I guess that's the best way to do it. Be like, I'm not
Retirement.
doing security, but they're paying me security wages. That would be a good
I'd
one.
like to be a philanthropist.
Oh,
Yeah, but
that's
I
just
just don't have the funds yet.
I was gonna say that job is just giving away money, right? So I mean, or in okay, I don't know what the hell is going
If I
on
had
with my
enough
phone.
to give away, that would be nice.
Right. That would be cool. Yeah. Okay, I don't honestly don't know what's going on with the interface on my screen here, but I'm going to let it do that, and hopefully that'll be a little better. Yeah, I mean, if I had Bill Gates money, I'd be philanthropizing and whatever's too. I'd be giving away stuff. So, YTT was a nurse for 6 years. Okay, that's a hard job. I would not want to be a nurse. I would not have want to have been a nurse during I'm retiring to an off-grid property, not a rancher. You grow food instead. Well, Mr. Betcher would grow food as a rancher.
Yeah, we
He's
should partner up.
walking hamburgers and ribeyes around. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah,
Unless you want to do sheep or goats or something like that, Mr. Betcher. You want to do sheep or goats?
they're a little tougher in this environment,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that makes sense. That
yeah,
makes sense.
you got
Um,
to you got to protect them, right, from the wolves and coyotes and
right, right. The hamburgers
as
are a little
cattle are.
bigger. Yeah, the coyotes don't tend to play around with ribeyes. So
And you
I say
need to get some
ribeyes and
mean donkeys.
oh, you know
They'll
what?
go after
That is
those
that's
canines.
true. I have heard that they especially with like alpacas, or if you buy an alpaca or a not a camel, what the hell are those things? Llamas. They
Emu,
tend
no,
to yeah, yeah, you can put them in with your sheep and
llamas.
whatever to yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure if they'll kill the coyotes, but a donkey will. They'll go and
right.
run them down and stomp them with their hooves.
Nice. That's yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. Yeah. So pigs are brutal on the coyotes as well, is what YTT is
That's right.
saying. So your proto bacon, does real well against coyotes. What is that? The Pokemon stuff?
I need to
Coyote
get me some pigs.
pig. Well, what kind of
Yeah.
pigs? Like you want a
Well,
truffle pig hunting truffles, or do you want like proto bacon kind of pigs?
well, it's not like cattle where you either have beef cattle or milk cattle.
Oh,
I think all pigs are meat pigs, right?
they are to me.
Yeah. So what kind of the meat pigs? Yes. Yes.
Meat pigs. Uh, yeah.
And
Well,
and you can get to the more, I don't know, environmental friendly pig farming where you could go and take, and it depends on what they allow in your area or your state, like maybe
yeah.
your state and county restrictions. I know in some places, like I think it's Arizona, where you can, no, it's Nevada. They take all the leftover food from the from the big hotels in
Oh yeah.
Vegas.
Oh
And
yeah.
what they do is I guess they boil that or heat it up to a certain degree for a certain time, kill all the stuff, and then
Right.
feed it to pigs
Okay.
and
Okay.
potentially chickens. I don't know. So they recycle all that food, which is great,
Right.
so they don't have to spend as much um, hauling in the grains because it isn't in a usually a desert area.
Right.
Most of Nevada is, and they don't have to import a lot of food for the pigs because they already have it there. It's
Yeah.
basically trash.
I want to say I saw that on like Dirty Jobs or something with Mike Rowe back in the day, where he went to Vegas and sat around helping to create animal feed
Yeah,
from whatever the buffets and the ambrosia salad at the Caesars was. Yeah, that sounds right. So hey, welcome Beta Wolf. How you doing? Glad you're here. So Mr. Betcher, you and I were also talking about your company there. That are they hiring by any way, shape, or
um,
form?
no,
No.
many companies are not,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
that world.
Yeah.
Because the fear is that, well, did you see what happened to FedEx? Their
Mm-mm.
stock went down 17%. And I don't know what happened the next day after that.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
overnight trading, they say, yeah, business is really bad right now. And
Oh wow.
when a company like that, who does shipping, so they have the pulse on the world
Right.
economy, really.
Yeah.
And when they say things are bad, um, CEOs really take that to heart, and they're like,
Right.
okay, we got to start cutting costs too.
Right.
We need to maintain, just maintain, right? Growth
Yeah.
is not a factor right now. We need to, or at least for most industries, we need to stay alive.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's what my company is doing,
Yeah. I
trying
know.
to weather this storm.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I know, my company is certain parts of it is on a hiring freeze. Other parts, like security, are somewhat still hiring. Um, and, but I wouldn't say being very particular, but we're definitely not just hiring like, not like it used to be where it was like, hey, people are, hey, you're a dog walker, you want to be a security person, come on in, that kind of thing. We are working on certain
Yeah,
initiatives that would actually require us to hire potentially junior people. I'm trying to push for that to happen, but yeah, we're hiring. It's just we're not hiring as fast as we were. We're trying to temper that with our upcoming yearly what do they call those OKRs, metrics
yeah.
and headcount stuff. So yeah, um, but yeah, yeah, Beta Wolf. No, 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 we're not. No, I'm not at Mando. I don't know what Mando is. Mando Calrissian. No, Mando.
That's
No,
what I was
no.
thinking.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not at Mando. I assume you mean Mandiant, but no, I am not there. I had stock in Mandiant, which I talked about earlier, that got cashed out from Google, but I was never working there. I bought that on the open market. So, um, so let's. They are a company of which I do not work at. But yes. So, Mr. Betcher, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news a little bit, but there's been a fairly decent sized breach. So, for some of you who were on the streams earlier this week, I have talked a little bit about that independently, but Mr. Betcher's really, his forte is incident response and very much more blue team than I am, and I would love to get his thoughts on the Uber breach. Um, Mr. Betcher, we talked before the show a little bit about the reports are it's an 18-year-old person. I don't want to say a gender because I could be wrong. You know, all pronouns can be hackers. It just doesn't matter. But I just want to make sure that we don't get that wrong. But the story is that an 18-year-old person successfully socially engineered an IT person at Uber to get account credentials to a VPN connection. And in this case, and in the screenshots we have in our Discord channel, gained access to the network via VPN, and then found a network share with some scripts in it with PowerShell that had usernames and credentials in it. And after that, because it was an admin account, which gave them access to the password vaults, I believe it's called Thycotic, um, had access to domain admin, Duo push, all this stuff. And then, uh, you know, of course, went completely YOLO on their Slack channel by saying, hey, uh, I am hacker roar. I am in your base. All your base belong to us. And people initially, I guess the stories were that developers were like, ha ha ha, yes, enjoy sock duty. Tell me how my code failed. Fix some bugs for me if you can. Ha ha ha. And then found out, oh, this shit's legit. And the stories that we've got updates for, according to one of them, was that all internal communications are now down, um, and that everything is completely up in the air. So I have some articles from ZDNet. I'm going to share my screen. So give me a second here. I'm going to share my screen.
Well,
Okay.
first of all, let me just caveat by saying this could happen to anybody. We're not
Right.
saying Uber sucks at security or anything like that. They
No.
could be
Absolutely.
legit, like really good at security. These things
Right.
just, if you miss in just a few areas, right? Just
Right.
like in sports, you could play the game perfectly for, you know, 8 innings, and then that ninth inning, you throw a change up, and the batter's ready for it, and you lose the game, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we're not saying that they should have done this, should have done that. We don't know. We're
Right.
not in their company. We don't work for Uber. I don't
Right.
know anybody that works for Uber. So
Yep.
um, besides drivers,
Right.
um, but yeah, with that caveat, um, yeah, let's talk.
Yeah. So I believe this is the story. Yeah, from ZDNet, they say it looks bad, potentially compromising all systems. They say the hacker on Thursday believed to have breached multiple internal systems with admin access to both of their Uber clouds, which were AWS and GCP. Uber has sent. Yeah, here's the update that I saw when I was doing some research here. They shut down their online access to internal comms and engineering systems while it investigated the breach. The company's internal messaging platform Slack was also taken offline. Um, uh, so yes, 100% what you said. We're not blaming anybody. Anybody can be socially engineered on any given day. Uh, you know, the hacker, of course, who claimed to be 18 years old at the time, sent a text message to Uber employees and was able to persuade a staff member to reveal a password after claiming to be corporate IT personnel. Which uh, we've heard stories about finance people wiring money because, hey, I'm the CEO. Please send $1 million to this account. Don't question me. I'm the CEO. God damn it. And they're like, well, he said he was a CEO, or they said that they were
Yeah,
CEO, so we did it anyway. Social engineering can
potentially this
happen
can be
regardless.
more like you send a password that could cost even more than that sort of thing.
Right, right, right. Yep,
Hash itself.
yep, yep, exactly. I'm gonna turn off preview here. For some reason, I'm lagging like a mofo. I can only blame my internet connection, but so when something like this happens, and I have not worked at an organization that has suffered a huge data breach, thankfully, knock wood. God, eh, it would be an unfortunate day if that happened. Where I work. Uh, what is, and I don't know if you have any experience with this either, but how does it feel working on an incident response like this, where not just from a completely ownage thing, but like what is the
Yeah.
prevailing opinion? Is it just get back to work as quickly as possible and then deal with the ramifications afterwards? I mean, what is the overarching principle here? Is it like everybody pulls up their sleeves and gets to work to get back to normal? What does that look like for you?
Um, well, see, this is what really makes you what the word is, angry, because an organization will spend a lot of money, a lot of effort buying the best tools out there. All right. And today's security tools are really good. I mean, if you buy almost any EDR today, their bread and butter, they're really good at that. They're really
Right.
good at finding malware, malicious processes, things like that.
Right.
Um, and a company spends a lot of money the size of Uber, they probably have a huge budget for security. And
Right.
they have all these whiz bang type tools and they believe they're safe. And it's
Right.
frustrating when the attack happens on one of your employees,
Yeah.
right? And maybe the company didn't focus on educating from a social engineering aspect, right? We're giving you this level of access. Okay, Bob, you have to keep that just restricted, right?
Right.
Don't go handing out candy to anybody who calls and has a sob story. You have to question it. Uh,
Right.
Not only question it, but um, make sure that they have the authority to get those credentials. Escalate if needed. Though
Right.
that kind of education needs to happen, and it's easy to let that slip because it's hard.
Right.
It's hard to maybe the security team hires a person that's really good at communication and visuals and maybe is an artist. They know nothing about security, but they can do really great graphics and they know humans and what motivates their education,
Right.
right? And so when you're looking at something, it kind of visually strikes you, and you're like, oh, okay, I have this level of access, and I need to keep that safe,
Right.
right? I just can't go willy nilly giving it to anyone who asks for it because they need to know that the ramifications of giving it to the wrong person can cost the company tens of millions. They're in all the papers. Their brand has a hit, their reputation, things like that, right?
Right.
When they suffer a breach, and right, it comes down to budget.
Right.
Um, this particular hack and how much it's going to cost them. I'm sure it's cost them a lot already as a
Yeah.
company. So, you know,
Agreed.
uh, shifting that focus to social engineering is hard to justify
Right. Yeah.
um,
Yep. Yeah.
because you can't see the tangible benefits of that.
Right. Right. Yeah, that I'm reminded that this isn't the first time Uber has been in the news. They had an issue a couple years back, 2021, 2020, somewhere around there, where they had paid off a an extortionist as a bug bounty, with the idea that they wanted to, hide that in some way, and that actually suffered. It caused them some. I don't want to even call it reputational damage. It just made the news because, as I talked about on Friday, there is no reputational damage anymore. It's a myth. Um, so,
Were they the ones that had the DMARC issue as well,
ooh, I do not know. DMARC issue.
where anyone could send an email as Uber?
Oh, I
Yeah,
do not know. Let me go and double check. DMARC issue email impersonation. So, one of our Twitch subscribers, Arc ONO
oh, there you go.
64.
The second link.
Yeah, Uber ignores vulnerability that lets you send an email. Ah, okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, vulnerability in the email
So
system allows anyone to send emails on behalf of Uber. Well,
yeah,
that's
so
not
that's a
good.
big one. So it not only can hurt your
Right,
partners, but
right, right,
also
right,
fool your own employees by thinking, okay, this is official because it's from my company.
right.
So
That's interesting. Yeah. So Uber has had I wouldn't say a history of security related events, but it's
they've been a
interesting.
target, you
They are
know.
definitely targeted. Yeah. Um, that's Oh, that one's interesting. I will put a link in our chat window for that. And
Yeah.
yeah. Well, see, Beta, easy. You say easy fix. I'm sure you said, hey, we'll just do that. Anytime somebody uses just, it's never that simple. I will argue that. And I will argue that until I'm dead, because I've worked with a lot of developers who say, yeah, just do this and it'll be fixed. Yeah. Just only works because they're already at where they need to be. When they're trying to bring you up, yeah, it's rough. But we can debate that point another time. So my question is, so they've apparently this hacker has gotten source, pretty much has leaked databases, credentials. First thing I did when I found out Uber was hacked was I told the wife, I said, hey, Uber got hacked, change your password. I went in, I changed my password, because we can just assume that emails and passwords were gone. They're gone. If you haven't changed your password on your Uber account, you probably should do so now. Or invalidate your OAuth tokens or whatever it is you use to log into that site.
I think I have two-factor for Uber, so
Okay, well that's another
yeah.
possibility, but that came up this weekend as well. I want to talk about the MFA stuff as well. Now that you've talked about it, Arco No64 had mentioned the fact that they owned up everything, including the source code. For companies that have been breached, and the bug bounty reports is what I'm talking about, the comment there. Um, can an organization should an organization suspend their bug bounty program after a breach, especially if they know for a fact that their source code has been breached?
I would say no. I
Well, aren't they
mean,
okay? I'll let you say why, and then I'll say, well, isn't this so? Why is
if
that?
their source code is out there, then it's possible that the bug bounty, the hackers that work for the bug bounty can look at their code,
Right.
right, just like anyone else can,
Right.
and bring that to light in a
Okay.
legitimate, in a non criminal way,
Right.
right? So I would
Right.
I would leave it going if they can, right? It
Okay.
might get out of hand, but that's
Yeah.
that's when you hire a consulting company to help you, and there's a number of them out there
Yeah.
that can
Okay.
filter out all of those. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to speak for Uber, but it seems like they're a big enough company where they might be able to shift some funds over to their bug bounty if needed, because
Yeah.
the source code is out there now.
Yeah. So according to Arco No 64, they have in fact suspended their bug bounty program. My whole thinking with that would be the bad guy could be double dipping, right? Um, you know, if it was a ransomware and that source code was leaked, or if that the flaws or the bugs found from that bug bounty were because of the source code that was leaked, maybe they only expose certain parts of their source code, or maybe the bug bounty is only for their website and not for the underlying code underneath. Having access to that code, it's like, pay me, I looked through your source code. Well, that source code's out of scope for the testing. My thought was, either the bad guy'd be double dipping because, you're gonna get money for, giving the source code away to bad guys. But it does sound like,
Yeah.
according to our Twitch chatter here, that they did suspend the program. Um, I don't know how you would start that back up though at some point. But it is interesting, and yeah, I would wonder about keeping that on and running after a breach. They found the flaws in the code. Who cares how they found it? It's important. Pay for it. Well, okay. So YTT asked this question: if they found flaws in the code, who cares how they found it? It's important. Pay for it. What if? So, having worked, and I'm sure YTT, you have a bug bounty program as well at your organization. You have out of scope things, right? My question is, what do you do with the out of scope stuff? It's like, hey, I got a copy of your source code. I got a copy of something deep inside your infrastructure that was completely out of scope. It's like I've told people when I've set up bug bounty programs in the past, they were like, "Wow, we'll do it on this one website. The bug bounty is only going to work for this one website." And I'm like, "You have like 5 websites that are not www. You're gonna want to put those into scope. Otherwise, people are going to be like, "Hey, I found something on Marketing Dot or Weasel Marketplace Dot or something like this," and then it's like, "Pay me because I found a vulnerability there." Well, it's out of scope. Yeah, okay, I'm going to give this information to somebody else, and whatever. Um, you know, Either they're going to be forced to pay for the source code bugs that are found. Um, I guess that's a way to control it. YTT, malicious
Maybe.
entities don't honor scope. If you found a vuln, I'll pay for it. Okay, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because if they can demonstrate that it is detrimental or it could be detrimental to the company, that this hack, while it may be out of scope, it's never out of scope if it's or well, it might not be out of scope if your scope is your budget, right?
Right,
Your profit
right,
and loss, your PE ratio, things like that.
right.
If they can demonstrate, and that's why it's good, a company of that size maybe have that arbiter in the middle, one of these
Yeah,
bug bounty companies, right? To
yeah,
say, okay, we've analyzed this hack too. And as a third party observer, we believe that this particular hack could cost you, your risk is $1 million a year,
right,
for the next 10 years or whatever,
right.
unless it's fixed.
Okay.
So those kind of things. In the case of your source code is public now, might be a good idea to do that. At least
Okay.
I would. That way, you don't have to spend a lot of resources on your bug bounty program
Right.
and the expertise, right, that it would take to analyze that risk.
Yeah. So Arcanos 64 says the thought is the attacker would be selling the bug bounty reports, which have yet to be fixed to third parties. Um,
Mm-hmm. So they'll
that
either
that
sell them
that
to
makes
you or
sense.
sell them to someone else.
Right. Right. And you had a good point there, Mr. Betcher, and Miss YTT also did. Maybe they suspended it temporarily because they already have enough work to do shoring up their environment, potentially. Because they're going to be changing a
Could
lot of
be.
passwords. They're going to be changing tokens. I mean, if they really did pop the password vault, which is for us civilian folks the equivalent of your one password or your last pass vault, they've got a lot of stuff that they're going to change, which is going to affect their operations. If they have, API tokens and their AWS and GCP, they're going to have to, reprovision those and make sure that they happen. Beta Wolf says there used to be some really sketchy, quote unquote, cybersecurity companies that would buy reports and hit companies with the help. There you go. I do believe within
Right.
hours of the Uber breach, I was already getting emails from PR companies saying, "Hey, our thought leader is going to come on and talk about how Uber could have prevented this." I do believe Malware Jake on Twitter had also asked for any sales emails that from third-party vultures that might be trying to capitalize on on this. Hey, we can tell you how Uber could have fixed this issue with our fancy ass beeping box or whatever. So I
Right.
thought that was a bit predatory.
Yeah, it is predatory, and they don't know. They don't know how
Right,
Uber could have prevented this. And
right,
and just by the word prevent, maybe they could have mitigated it in some way if they'd
right,
have,
right,
known about the password vault. Maybe the
right,
password vault was something that no one knew outside of IT, right?
right.
Maybe the security team didn't even know about this vault. It's possible.
Yeah,
We just don't know. We don't have insiders. We're not part of their IR team or their technology team. So to
yeah,
speculate like that is something we, as security professionals should never do.
right.
Um, we don't
Yeah,
have the inside information. So
yep,
whatever they make public might be true. It might not be. You never know.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
but,
The cheapest
one
solution.
thing
So Beta Wolf, you use the word just again. The cheapest solution would have just been inside training. Um, Yeah, training is good. One of the things that is coming up is Security Awareness Month. And Sorry, Mr. Betcher, I'll let you finish your thought here after this.
Mhm.
I actually have to wonder about these old chestnuts that we've been holding on to for years about security is everyone's problem. Uh, you know, uh, Investing in people or what have you. We have all these little chestnuts that we like to use. Um, yeah, definitely watch. Yeah, YTT. This is definitely we need to watch what's happening. Hopefully, we'll get some kind of final report from Uber. I would hope that they're open enough that they can publish that. But Mr. Betcher, your point, sir.
I think in the past, the social engineering has been a lot easier than it is today, just because attackers all over the world have gotten more sophisticated. And by sophisticated, I mean when we got attacks 5 years ago, the lingo wasn't right, the
Right,
the grammar wasn't right, the the scope wasn't correct. You could pick out little things in these emails, and you'd be trained by these professional social engineering companies that would come train you. Oh, well, if they misspell a word, that's a red flag, right?
right,
And I always thought, like, what if they hired a native speaker, whatever country it is that's getting attacked, um, or whatever host country, they
right.
hire a native speaker to correct all their language, their lingo. Maybe they know something about the company, and
Yeah,
just make it perfect. And I'm like, well, if I were doing this attack, I could make it so that 80% of people would fall for it, right?
right, right.
Just they made these flaws, and now I think they realize this. They're getting better at it, and the social engineering attacks today are really good.
Yeah,
And a lot of them say, hey, call this phone number because um, you need to pay this invoice, things like that. And it looks totally legit. The invoice
right.
looks correct. Like they just copied the invoice. Maybe they copied the email uh, from a legitimate email, and they're just
Yeah,
attacking a different person, but they take
right.
everything that's legitimate and copy it over. So I just
Yeah,
think they're getting a lot better, and it's up to us. While these tools are really good to get the technical aspects of an attack from a endpoint perspective, it's the social engineering that really hits us. It reminds me of
yeah,
that one commercial, and I don't know remember what it was for, but they had these two. Uh, they had this ringmaster in a boxing match, and he goes, "In this corner, we have the best tool available and on the market for security, and in this corner, we have Bob,
yeah.
the IT guy, right, or
Yep,
something like that."
yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I seem to remember a comic or something similar to that. But so the one thing that has kind of been I don't want to say on the periphery here with our stream chatters and yourself is um, how it went down. So a corporate IT person calls up another IT person, corporate IT person, sorry, corporate IT person calls up another IT person and says, help, I need access to this to do this. Is that how things work in that company? In my company, I couldn't just call up an IT person or call up help desk and say, "Hey, I need the passwords to this vault." Um,
yep,
there would, I would hope, be a process that they would have to follow, where the IT person would have to then return and say, "Hey, sorry, corporate IT person, you need to submit a ticket." you know, um, and the corporate IT person probably replies, "Well, this is very important, and I need to do this, and you need to make this happen, and whatever." Um, this is is there a failure of process here, right? If
definitely.
if the process is to put in a ticket to be able to gain access to these things or what have you, um, there all of these things in I talked about the CEO earlier, asking somebody to send a wire to some bank and don't tell anybody about it, or do it because I'm the CEO. This is my personal Gmail account, whatever, whatever. Um, there should be a process for these things, especially if you're doing things like advanced permissions or something that only a select few people should have access to, or it could be something innocuous like if it is true and it was just a set of VPN credentials, there should be a portal or something. So Arcano says there have been a number of breaches likely due to MFA exhaustion attacks. Business. YTT says submit a business case and I'll review it. We, that came up this weekend too as well. The process stuff, and it's like, YTT had asked the question online about somebody had said something about MFA exhaustion. And I was like, who's getting numerous MFA requests on their devices or on their phones or something, to make this happen? Because it doesn't happen to me. I don't know why it doesn't happen to me, but I'm not getting like two or three, a dozen, 20, 30, MFA requests every day or every week or ever, to do so. So either I'm doing something wrong or right in this case, or I'm just boring and nobody wants to try to brute force my accounts. Um, where's MFA exhaustion coming from? And if this is a thing, why aren't 2FA companies doing anything about it? I mean, rate limiting is a thing that works in firewall connections, API connections. Why not authentication connections?
Yeah, I'm not an authentication expert, but
Right.
I think, and then there's but again, I
But
believe that it's tied to the computer that you have. I'm
right.
not sure about that, but yeah.
Okay.
So in order to log in, you would have to have that computer has some sort of a token on it, so you won't
Right.
have to type your password as much. But I'm not the right person to ask. Maybe we should get somebody on who's skilled at SSO and all the things.
Right. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's because of how I have everything set up in my environment where I have no work stuff on my computer, on my personal boxes or on my device or what have you. Beta Wolf says they do this for buildings. They have systems that won't let the same badge go through the same door twice for a set amount of time. That stops people from stealing creds and then immediately going in afterwards. Okay, that's fair. Um, yeah, I just I'm trying to figure this out because I don't have SMS or MFA exhaustion or whatever second factor, and I'm like, if this is a thing, why hasn't it been addressed by now? Or is this something that is already in place in MFA systems and it's just not being implemented by the organizations that buy these devices? I have a Twitter link here from Rachel Toback, which I commented on earlier, and I will add here about turning on various things to secure your MFA uh, accounts, including strengthening some of the solutions. There's a link in our Twitter chat. Turning on number matching to reduce phishing risk of app-based MFA code tools if in use. Trying FIDO keys with small groups of admin access users for a phased approach. And encouraging services to allow FIDO keys for MFA so we can improve usability and make it practical for all. Yeah, my company doesn't use MFA in that role. Well, not like a number based MFA or what have you. Um,
Are they using federated
um,
identity? That could
I
be
don't want
it.
to mention mention the system name, but we no longer use VPN for a vast majority of things. It's like they turn that off. You have to have a separate token, a hard token. Back when I used to work with them as a 3P, there was like an 8-digit RSA token, like the one with the 8 digits, and it was random, and you had to input that in with your VPN. But they've gotten rid of that altogether, and it's a hardware token now. It looks like a YubiKey, like this, and you just plug it into your computer when it asks you for it, and you tap it, and then it does its thing. Um, this is actually an HDMI to DisplayPort adapter, but you get the idea. Um, I yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is that we do, if that is what their idea of zero trust is, but I don't have I have another YubiKey that I use for my login passwords for my computer, which is a legit YubiKey. If I lose this, then I can't log into my box or do anything on that box. But um, yeah, I get it. Hardware tokens are great and everybody should be using them because they're the best things ever. But I would lose that if it was not in my laptop somewhere. You know, the minute I had to carry around a token, and this is a thumb drive now, um, I'd lose this thing. Matter of fact, when I was on work down in LA where my company is, I had to go back to my hotel room because I'd left my hardware token in my pants pocket in my other pants. And you know, it's like, well, now I can't do shit today. If I had been further away, then I wouldn't have been able to do anything. So hardware tokens are great, but not for everybody, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, I was completely useless at work until I, you know, went back to the hotel room and got my Fido token or whatever. Um, you know, these are all great examples of things to do. If you know this IT admin had, you know, had some way to verify that that person who was who they say they were, if there was a portal that they could have had that would have allowed the corporate IT person to authenticate themselves legitimately, that might have reduced the chance of this occurring. Um, you know, uh, you know, if the VPN connection, if they just didn't hand over, I said just, you know, if there were additional controls in place or had been enforced, there may not have been. This may not have even been in the news. I don't know.
Yeah.
YTT says many providers don't support FIDO2 or similar. What's the difference between forgetting your badge and forgetting your token? They're the same thing. Absolutely. You know, doctors' offices now have the, you know, badge into the system, badge into the computer, because making doctors remember a password that they're going to have to type in hundreds of times a day is a pain in the ass. I'm surprised it took as long as it did to not have some kind of badge in system like that. But yeah, I don't get the fatigue, so I don't understand the problem. And I wouldn't have even known it was a problem until, you know, I'd seen enough people say, "Whoa, I get dozens of MFA requests a day on my account." I'm like, how are the attackers knowing this? Is this bad OPSEC on people's part where it's like, hey, I work for blah blah company. Well, okay, great. Now they know, you know, how you format your email account. They, you know, they're gonna, you know, brute force your attacks. And if your SOC people are not, you know, looking for every brute force attack that's going on, eventually you're going to get an MFA function or something like that. Um, I don't know what this I don't know if there's a solution to this. I think like what Rachel says that, you know, maybe not everybody needs a FIDO key, but maybe there's, you know, certain people do need them, like the corporate IT folks, you know, and you know, the IT person could have said, well, you're a corporate IT person, just use your FIDO token to get in. Why do you need a VPN? Oh, you're a bad motherfucker. I'm going to have to report you,
Right.
you know. Um, I'm just I'm just thinking out loud here, but yeah.
Yeah, and there were multiple things that went wrong here. And, maybe it was the IT person that didn't follow the process. It could be that there was no process to follow, right?
Right.
Or there
Right.
were
Right.
the training wasn't adequate.
Right.
I picture that person as just trying to help somebody do their job, right? And
Absolutely.
that's what they're there for. They're
Right.
they're there to streamline the business and the people who do work for the business, right? So uh, a if a developer can't develop because there's some
Right.
technical issue with their access, right? That's IT's job to solve,
Yep.
right? They're there to
Yep.
help them solve that problem, and it's their job to help them out. So he was doing his job in a way.
Right.
Either he wasn't trained right, or he didn't follow the process, or there was no process. Then there was the password vault, right? We don't know much about that, but if it had the keys to the kingdom in it that anyone could get into,
Right.
maybe that particular position who he was spoofing shouldn't have had access to all those passwords,
Yeah.
things like that. So there's
Yeah.
breakdowns there as well.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so there
Yep.
may have been breakdowns in zero trust, right? Or maybe
Right.
there was no zero trust.
Yep.
So yeah, um, could it have been prevented? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough because there are always, I don't care what organization you're at. There are always the security flaws lingering around. It's just, can someone find them and exploit them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
will you detect when somebody does? That's the big thing, right?
yeah,
Everyone says, "Oh, well, the attacker just has to be right once, right?
right.
Because he can try and fail, 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 and then he tries again and he succeeds, right? But then once the attacker is in the environment, he has to be right every time. Otherwise, he gets detected, right? And if you
Yeah,
have those types of detections and you have people monitoring those detections, or you have the alerts come up to the right people who can go and see that someone is in their environment that shouldn't be there, then the attacker has to be right every time.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. We're getting here at about an hour. The one thing that I've mentioned, I think on previous stream, if I haven't, then I've thought it mentally, was these nothing bad is going to happen to Uber. And I've mentioned this. I think I ranted about this in the previous discussion. This old chestnut of brand reputation or brand damage. We've actually done stories and earlier podcasts back when we were young and naive that brand damage was something that we could actually use to, you know, get change started in an org. And I kind of railed against that on Friday during my stream that brand damage is no longer a thing. If anything, and what Better Safety Net Mick Douglas had said, and he cited a 2015 Harvard Business Review. Um, Now is the perfect time for you to go buy Uber stock because the stock is about to go up 10% in value. Because somebody's about to admit that they did something wrong and the stock price is going to go up. And when that happens, where's the downside for a breach? You know, oh yeah, people's data is out there. You could argue that there's been enough data breaches that none of this data is going to be new. Um, maybe a new credit card number once or twice, maybe 25 to 30% of the cards may be new, may have rolled over. Um, there's going to be no negative in 6 months for Uber. YTT, as a matter of fact, me and her, she actually said $38 a share. I have my post-it note here for October 16th. I'm going to go look at the share price. It was 31 something on September 16th. But on October 16th, I'm going to go look at the stock price for Uber and find out how much it's gone up.
It went
Um,
from 33.18, 33.10 down to 31.03, and it kind of stabilized at 31.93. So it
yep,
lost
10%.
$1.
Yeah, it lost, yeah, less than 10% of its value because of the breach. I mean, and because they're about to put out the, hey, here's what happened, we vow to do better. I mean, even Twitter, they have Mudge testifying in front of Congress. Stock's still around 40. I mean, it's not going to go any lower, I don't think. And if anything, the PR cycle is just going to make it so that it's going to look like they've improved, they're sorry, they're contrite, and the stock price is going to go up. So nothing bad is going to happen to Uber. We're not going to be speaking about it in past tense. As I stated, as I stated on Friday, if Target and Home Depot back in 2014, 2015, where brand reputation was a real thing, then we would be speaking about Home Depot and Target in past tense. Um, yeah, see, Arcano 64 here is saying the same thing. They worked on the Target breach and they scratched their head as the stock continued to rise. Uber is going to see record profits this year because of this data breach, and we as security people cannot count brand damage or reputation damage as a problem anymore. So, what as security people do we have to use to tell companies, hey, you need to be secure? Because right now mine is, hey, don't get breached. It's really, really bad
Well,
for the next 48
um,
hours, and then it's gonna, cause our stock price to go up. I mean,
their
that's
cyber insurance goes up.
if they have cyber insurance. If I mean, I just heard the news story that the class action for Home Depot or Target took 7 years to suss out in court, and they ended up paying what, $200 million. How many millions of
Okay.
dollars have they made in that amount of time? You know, even if Uber gets hit with a class action, it's going to take, it's going to be what, 2030 before we even see anything come out of this from this breach, and by then they will have made billions of dollars.
Yeah, it's hard to judge because what did this cause? What did this
Right.
attack cause as far as damage to their bottom line? We don't know
Right.
because there's so many other factors. It could be that their share price went down because the overall economy went down, or went up because the overall economy went up.
Sure.
We don't know. We can't isolate that, right?
Right.
Because there's so many other factors going on.
Right.
How's their competition, right? Maybe their
Right.
share price went down because they've got a really innovative competitor
Right.
going on at that time. We don't know.
My point is, though, you can't look at that Uber chart, the stock chart for the past week, and say, "Oh yeah, here's when the breach happened." It looks like
Yeah.
just normal trading day.
Well, like an earnings day, if you go further back, they had it went down even more, but that was
Right.
probably they announced earnings and they didn't earn as much as the market thought they should,
Right.
right? Or what was projected. So it looked like an earnings day where they had some bad projections. Like for example, FedEx, they went down 17% this week
Right.
in one overnight session, not even during trading hours. So
Yep.
what happened there? Well, they announced that they had to cut costs. Well, that didn't happen in one day. They knew that things were looking bad,
Yeah.
but they didn't announce it until that day, and then the share price dropped 17%.
Right.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're
I just worry that security people, we cannot communicate business impact anymore because there isn't one to a breach or to bad press. Or, I mean, really the only thing that they're worried about right now is whether or not a product didn't launch correctly and they're losing money there. From a security point of view, like like McDouglas said, security doesn't matter anymore in some circles. Um, and I'm sorry, that sounds shitty. And please, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, well, great, Brian, thanks for kicking me in the teeth here. I would love to hear an example where somebody said, you moved the needle. Your company is safer, you know, and until they're breached, you'll never actually know if anything mattered or not. Um, we're in a down
in
market
some
right now.
cases
It's
even
easy to
after
find.
that,
Right,
right? So
right.
um,
I mean,
I
if we're
think
in the
it
near
does
term,
matter.
yeah, there's going to be there's going to be news, and it's going to be, oh my god, the world is falling or whatever. Your PR people are already ahead of you in terms of how to handle and recover from a breach. Your PR and your marketing people are already far enough ahead of you from a security point of view to weather the breach and to fix the reputation. And you probably should be talking to those people about how you can talk to management about business impact or what have you, and maybe bring them in on these things because they can help you with that. So that's at least my thought on that. As much as I'm loath to invite PR and marketing folks in, but they obviously know how to navigate a breach better than some of us security folks do. So
Well, that's a downer. I think it does have an impact, security on the bottom line.
temporarily.
It's hard to measure that though,
Right.
uh,
Right.
because security is more like insurance than anything else, right? You don't know if what you spent your money on actually paid off.
Right. Until it
Um,
happens. Until it happens.
well, then
Um,
even then you don't know how much that costs, right?
right. Right. But you
So,
don't you don't see a
so
company not having a PR and a marketing company. You do see companies not have a security department. Patreon, depending on who you talk to, um, either some of their security team is gone or their entire security team is gone. And oh my God, it's, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome kind of shit going on in Patreon. One, not true. It's not like their security goes to shit if they've let go of 5 people. It may wane over time, but they're planning on doing some third party stuff there. That's another discussion we can have, and I don't want to go into that now because we're at an hour. But um, yeah, maybe we can talk about that during October's security awareness training. It's like they got rid of all their people, but it is what it is. So let me see. Wait, let me see. 1 second here. Ours. So YTT says ours went down after the breach stock price in this case because we met fundamentals that weren't previously met. Exotics or XO64, Arcano 64. Sorry. It costs the drain on the workforce. If you've ever worked a breach, you see headcount lose due to the strain and being overworked. That is true. You may lose some people. According to what I've seen on the internet, though, Uber, would they even notice? It seems like their culture's
I
a
don't
little
know.
on the janky side anyway.
You would
Uh,
lose your good people,
sure.
right? Because the
Yeah.
good people are probably, and I don't know, but I'm envisioning that they know where the bones are hidden,
Right.
and they're
Right.
probably telling people, "Hey, we need to shore this up. We need to do this. We need to do that."
Yep.
And that
Yep.
never happens, and then all of a sudden the nightmare comes to fruition and they're
Right.
frustrated and they go, and then new people come in, they don't know where the bones are, right?
Yep.
And so things are even worse off, right,
That's
from
true.
that perspective.
Yep. YTT says we're in a down hiring market right now. It's easy to find people. It's really hard to identify a reason for security that I can take to the board. It's even harder to sell it. And then YTT says, no, our cyber insurance went down after the breach. Interesting there.
Wow.
Welcome, Kiri Bloodrose. Thank you for coming and hanging out on our Slack. So YTT, before we go, real quick, why did your cyber insurance go down after the breach? I'm assuming the premiums in this case. Why did they go
Yeah,
down?
maybe because they implemented better processes,
Mm.
better tools. I don't know. They were able to answer the questions better.
Is this maybe this is just an example of we got breached? The insurance company assumes that budget is going to be set aside because security doesn't, you know, security
Lightning
loves
doesn't
a
strike
crisis.
twice in the same
Right,
place.
right. You've been
I
breached
don't know.
once. You can't possibly be breached again in the near term. Um, that kind of thing. We met fundamentals of hygiene we didn't have before. Okay, so their cyber insurance went down because they were finally doing things that were like security based, like
Security got more attention.
security got more attention. So in this case, you're okay. So in a breach is good because your insurance rates are going to go down because you're going to actually have budget for security. That's a problem. Um, Mr. Betcher is correct. They hired me. I answered the questions better. Ooh, there you go. There you go.
Nice.
Um, Post breach, you could also hire some, well known security hacker who will help fix your issues, and then everything will be. Oh, wait, yeah, yeah, not awkward. Anyway, I think post breach there is a, there's the PR. Hey, we're going to do better. We care about your security. Something something something. You're very important to us and our bottom line. And then there's the we're going to wrap it up, Mr. Betcher. So yeah, there's an impetus there to want to improve at the end. So I do appreciate that. But I would love to hear everybody's feedback either in our Discord, which you can get to at discord.gg/Brakesec. Make sure that you actually fill out the code of conduct. We are moderated and everything. We're also on a Slack, but to be fair, we are probably kind of forestalling adding a bunch of new people to that. So the Discord is probably where we're going to continue moving from here on out. Mr. Betcher, people wanted to talk to you about incident response and IR and stuff. How would they find you?
Log-md.com.
Okay.
Definitely get a hold of me there. And I just want to add, if it might be a good idea if you're in that position, or you're in a company and you want to get some recognition. This might be a good talk to do or a presentation in front
Brown
of
bag.
IT staff or your technology team, whatever in
Yep.
your company.
Yep.
Just walk through this, do some research on this breach, walk through it, because I think it might get the point across that, hey, maybe we need these processes in place.
Right.
Maybe we need to pay attention to who's asking for these things. Like, I know you say you're one of our people who works in Germany. Maybe you have an office in Germany, and um, but let me verify that. Who do you work for? Who's your boss? Can you have your boss call me? Right? Can you get on a video chat so I can actually see you? Right?
Right.
Things like that
Yep.
might help out just to question everything.
Yeah.
And
Definitely draw
and
some
and giving that
parallels. Yeah.
presentation to your IT staff. I mean, they may not have heard of this type of attack before.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely draw some parallels. You could say, hey, if somebody if somebody called IT and asked for a VPN credential, what do we tell them? Well, we tell them what the password is, or we provision
Yeah.
them an account, and it's like, no, that's not what you should do. But yeah, definitely find some ways to draw parallels between what happened at Uber as the details come out, and stuff in your own organization to help draw those parallels.
Hmm.
So especially if you can do things like third party issues or something like that. Hey, I'm a third party. I want to I need an account because I got locked out, and it's like, okay, there should be a process there or something like that. So absolutely, thank you for that last bit there, Mr. Betcher. I appreciate that. So, Discord, breakingsecurity.com, BRAKEING security.com is our official website. Miss Berlin, you can find her at InfoSyster, INFOSYSTIR. Hackers Health is her a nonprofit that helps bring light and awareness to mental health issues in InfoSec. Um, thank you, Wicked Blue Ninja, for the stream, the critique. Appreciate the positive feedback there. Said great stream today. And you can follow me on Twitter at Brian Break, BRYANBRAKE, and our podcast is Brakesec on Twitter as well. So, and thank you for the subscription, Wicked Blue Ninja. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you have a Prime Gaming or a Prime Amazon Prime account, you can do so, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's part of your Prime subscription, and we get some cash for that. So appreciate the help there. Yeah. So we have appreciate everybody who comes out and joins me on the stream here. I try to stream on Tuesdays and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. We go through some hack the box stuff, some tutorials. I might go through some news and some threat intelligence stuff. Would love to have you join me if you can. 3 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. And watch the Discord. I tend to announce it there. So if you can, get online. Oh, Super Lolly, thank you for joining. Hang on. Oh, damn, it's too late for us. Damn. Anyway, so that was it for our Breaking Down Security this week. Hope you enjoyed. Take care of yourselves. Mr. Betcher, as always, it's great seeing you, sir. And I hope you are safe and, you continue enjoying doing your work.
Thanks, Brian.
Cool.
Same to you.
Yeah, it's getting
And
better. So, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, have a great week. Be kind to one another, please. Take care of yourselves, as we're fond of saying here. You're the only you have. And we'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.